Greetings, beloved. I'm Dr. Felicia LaBoy, lead pastor and life coach here at the historic First United Methodist Church in downtown Elgin, Illinois, with another motivational moment from the Bible. These motivational moments are designed to help you take what you hear from church, what you may read during your private devotional time, or just those questions that you might be thinking, what in the world does that mean? All of this is designed to help you take all of that and to make it applicable to your everyday life. This week, I want us to focus in on an idea of enough, His grace for our adequacy. Well, what do I mean, Pastor Felicia? Well, let me see if I can explain. This past week, we started our 2023 sermon series on God at the movies. And we kicked it off with the movie, the blockbuster, Little Mermaid. If you remember that story, Ariel, who's the mermaid, can't see all that she has to bring to the table. And so she decides to make this unbearable deal with the devil, we could say, with the witch, remember? To change her fins in for legs so that she might be acceptable to the prince. But in order to do that, she loses her voice. Beloved, often you and I are willing to trade in the very things that God gives us as gifts in order to fit in with some other people that we think are more important than we are. Can I give you a little hint? This is a bonus message this week. If someone can't accept you for who you are and how you are and love you into being a better version of you and not who they want you to be, they got to go. Bye, baby, bye. Or bye, Felicia. Anyway, here's my point. My point is this, beloved, that when you and I don't feel like we're enough, and all of us don't feel like we're enough to do everything that we've been called to do, God's grace is sufficient for that. In 2 Corinthians chapter 9, the Apostle Paul has an ailment, and he petitions God 3 times, please take this from me. Help me to be a better version of me. This isn't going to work well, God, because this is who I am. God tells him, don't worry about it. My grace is sufficient for you. My grace, God's grace is sufficient for whatever inefficiency that we have. I wanted to include this quote by Ruth Child Simmons from her book, When Striving Cease. And she talks about those of us who struggle with feeling inadequate. I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. I can't speak well enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not old enough. I'm not pretty enough, not skinny enough. I'm not fat enough. You get it? And she said, this quote that I've included comes from something in her book that she wrote about. And she was talking about, she was going to speak at a conference and she was feeling really bad. And so she put everything aside and said, God, I just don't feel like I'm enough to do this thing that you've called me to for this moment. And she said, it wasn't a loud voice, but in the stillness of not feeling enough and bringing that inadequacy and that weakness to God, this is what he said. It's not about you, child. I get to use you to make much of me if I want to, even if you don't feel the approval or favor that you think you need. You don't need to be good enough. You need to be good with me being enough. How else do you think I'm going to deliver a message of grace through you? Beloved, the message of Jesus Christ is a message of grace. It says that when we couldn't save ourselves, God stepped right in. And God will step in the midst of our weaknesses. He did it with Moses, who couldn't speak. He did it with Abraham and Sarah, who were too old to have a kid. They did, by the way. And he does it day by day with you and I. See, the whole point is that you and I are to display his glory. And if we are going to do that, then we have to know that we are enough, and we have to stop selling ourselves short to fit into somebody's ideal of what we can be and who we can be. The only person qualified to know who we are, and the only person that's qualified to handle that weakness is God. So I pray that you'll stick around this week for our refresher soul song, which comes from the group The Many, and it says, "We are enough." And I want you to practice this week. Every time you look in the mirror, to remind yourself that you are enough to God, and that wherever your inadequacies are, wherever my inadequacies are, His grace will be displayed through us, and we will witness to the greatness of our God and will glorify His name so that people might see Him, the one who loves us and who works in and with us and through us in spite of the weaknesses we bring to the table. Beloved, I am Dr. Felicia LaBoy, lead pastor and life coach here at the historic First United Methodist Church, with another motivational moment from the Bible. Be blessed. Hey, check us out at fumcelgin.org for God at the Movies. Talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.